If you've learned a bunch of effective study techniques but still aren't getting any results from them, you've probably got one or more of the issues we're going to solve together in today's video. In fact, please pay close attention to each point because there is no practical or lasting way to maximize your study without basing the time you spend learning on the foundations of what we'll be discussing today. This is factually true because your brain is produced as part of a well-oiled or poorly oiled unit. And the more you improve your brain health, the more it's going to produce a mind that functions properly and effectively. And when I talk about foundations that last, this principle matters above all. After all, you want to be a lifelong learner so you can enjoy the pleasure of comprehending, making connections, and creating new insights and knowledge for the rest of your life. Don't you? In today's video, let's take a look at 8 ways you can help take care of your brain and how they maximize the time you spend studying, now and in the future. In a recent conversation with 2018 memory champion John Graham, we discussed supplementation for brain health. And guess what? The best supplement for a healthy brain is staying well hydrated. Water is basically better than any memory supplement on the market. So fill up your water bottle and take sips regularly as you study. Don't underestimate the powerful impact this technique will create for you. So many people suffer so much because they habitually dismiss the simplest things. Don't be like that. If you're a coffee drinker, consider sticking to 1 cup a day and only after you've had a liter of water and some breakfast. John Graham also talks a lot about adding extra challenges in order to grow. So if you haven't checked out part 2 of our playlist on the most powerful study techniques, tactics, and strategies, you'll find the link for starting the playlist in the description below. And while you're down there, if you're new to our community, please make sure to subscribe, enable notifications so you don't miss any of our free memory training videos, and for the love of memory, hit that thumbs up. That's important because it helps me train the robots so they never forget the importance of the memory tradition for helping us mere mortals learn faster and remember more. Now for one of the most powerful study tips I can share with you. One I wish I'd known many years ago, especially while completing my BA, something that took far longer than necessary due to some unhappy habits I had in this area. Nutrition is such a key component to keeping your body and brain healthy. But did you know that when you eat can be just as important as what you eat? If you want to study effectively and for longer hours, pay attention to how different foods affect you. Keep a food journal and pay attention to how you feel after you eat, not just right after, but also for the rest of the day and into the next. This helps you figure out what works for you. You might also consider rotation or elimination diets to help you weed out problem foods from your diet. When you know how the food you eat will make you feel, you can become a lean, mean, focused machine. If you get really clear about this, you'll learn that you have a 72-hour or so digestion cycle. For the 3 days before your big exam, avoid any foods that could have a negative physical effect, and instead stick to the foods you know make you feel great and your brain work great. It takes time, but it's super helpful to dig your wells before you're thirsty. There are so many people who come to me with just a few days until their exams looking for a last-minute silver bullet. And I have to tell them, next time, make sure you take the time to prepare in advance. Sleep hygiene is important for brain health. But what's involved in having good sleep hygiene? It's having daily routines and a sleep environment that promote uninterrupted, steady sleep. My best years were when I had this bedroom with window blinds that were made out of metal. My bedroom was as dark could get, and I never slept so well in my life. I can say from personal experience that when you don't have any light or devices, that level of darkness helps you get great sleep, which leads to better focus. When it comes to keeping your physical body healthy, a daily dose of mindfulness and movement is very important. If you don't meditate at least 4 times a week, you're not going to get the benefits. Ideally, you'll meditate every day. There are certain meditation patterns I follow. I highly recommend them, but also recognize there are many different types out there. Remember, your meditation practice is not a destination, it's a journey. Every day you sit, you keep going, learning new things, trying new things, adding new things. There's no be-all, end-all of meditation. The same thing goes with movement. Get some kind of exercise every day if you can. Mix it up. Try yoga to boost your concentration and memory. Walking, swimming, biking, whatever gets you excited to stretch your muscles. There's no one best exercise for every single person. Many people dress for failure with clothing choices that restrict their circulation, make them uncomfortable, or otherwise distract them. Instead, undo your belt, wear nice socks, and have loose-fitting pants and shirts that can breathe. You can be both stylish and comfortable. When I was in university, I wore linen a lot, especially in the summer. This style of clothing let my clothes breathe so my skin could get some air. When making your clothing choice for studying and taking your exams, choose comfort so you're not distracted from your studies. There are a number of people these days who recommend hot and/or cold hydrotherapy or contrast water therapy. Some of them say it helps open up the vagus nerve, sending all kinds of chemicals up to your brain. I personally enjoy cold showers because they help build mental toughness and discipline. For example, if your mind starts to think, "Oh, I don't want to show up, I don't want to study, I'm too tired," the mental toughness you develop through a consistent practice of cold showers will bleed over into other aspects of your life. If nothing else, a cold shower will help wake you up if you feel groggy from studying for long hours. It may not seem like it's related to your body, but spending time with other people creates chemicals in your brain. We talked about accountability as a strategy for studying effectively over long hours in a previous video in this series, and I can attest to the power of study groups. At university, I took part in a number of study groups that were very powerful and important to my success. We used the levels of processing effect, shared our writing with each other, shared our thoughts verbally, and heard the thoughts of other people. This was all very important to help me remember more and build the duration of how long I could study. If you're in groups, you can accelerate your practice. The more you discuss, process, and interact with other people, the more the neural networks in your brain grow. So how can you get more strategic about how you socialize, especially when we're all limited in how we can interact in person? How can you make the most of your fellow students? Neurobics are exercises and cognitive activities that stimulate the brain and improve your memory recall. As you employ your effective study techniques, you can also become a student of Neurobics. Here are just a few ways to mentally exercise your brain. Unlock your door with your non-dominant hand and with your eyes closed. Eat things with chopsticks you would normally eat with a fork. Brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. There are also mental neurobics, which involve challenging yourself to learn topics you already know from a different angle. I teach many more brain exercises that directly improve your focus while studying in my book, The Victorious Mind, which you can find on Amazon. I have always loved the idea of green, and not just any green, but the green from plants. Studies show that you'll be stronger in your creative thinking and problem solving when you have adequate exposure to nature. The American Society for Horticultural Science even studied the impact of plants in university classrooms, finding that plants have value beyond their aesthetics. I'll admit that I'm just not a caring plant person, but I can take care of plants in a basic enough way to keep them around and alive. But I'm not quite at the same level as the roommate I had in Berlin, who told me that the many plants he kept helped him stay focused and concentrate for long hours. And I'm sure they'll help you too. This step is simple. Study in a location for a set period of time, then move to another location. Repeat for as long as you're studying. I've read some memory science that seems to indicate norepinephrine is triggered when you're in new or novel locations. That might be part of why it helps with remembering more. I used this a lot when I was in university. For example, I loved to go from floor to floor in the library. I would study for a while and then move down one floor. And during that break, I would reconfigure things. I would also move from cafe to cafe when I wasn't in the library. As you plan out your study strategy, can you plan in different places to study? I'm confident you'll find it useful. There's a second way to use locations as part of your effective study techniques. Have locations that trigger study habits. I keep a large physical journal on my desk, not because I don't like to use online journals, but because the habit of journaling is much more likely to get done when you can't ignore it. The journal is big. It takes up space, and because I keep knocking into it, I can't ignore it. One of the things you can do to trigger study habits is to have whatever pile of books you're reading or studying in a place where you just can't miss them. When I take a new course, I often create a physical mind map and keep it visible in my space. It helps me keep on track because it's there and it doesn't leave until it's done. One final environmental point is to consider getting some coaching. Many people won't or can't invest in themselves in this way, but coaching has been huge for me, and I believe a lot of people would benefit from hiring a coach. Having a personal coach who is devoted to you and 100% focused on your stuff can really help. And if you are working with a coach and you're not seeing progress, they're not the right coach. Sometimes you have to try a couple of different people to find that coach who will help you stay committed and who you also gel with. And here's something to consider. Showing up and doing what needs to be done has one word: maturity. If you can't get yourself to do it, whatever it is, then maturity dictates that you need help. And so you should invest in a coach. And of course, you can be coached by books, programs, accountability meetings, in a group, etc. But there's something special about having one person really focused on your progress. Now, I want to thank our channel members before we go and invite you to hit the join button below and consider supporting the channel for extra perks. Sometimes I throw in a few surprises too, such as private live training invitations for deep dive sessions into certain aspects of how to use the Memory Palace technique. In part 4 of this playlist series, I'll be answering the most common questions I've received over the years about studying effectively. Until then, please make sure you're getting the most out of this series by keeping good notes. If you don't know how, please be sure to watch our detailed training on note-taking next.